Political crisis in the country worsening with the case on the Speaker's decision still ongoing. The proceedings are still underway. The opposition is now re-strategizing its approach against Imran Khan and his party, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. The joint opposition held a late-night meeting on Wednesday in Islamabad, where the leaders of the Pakistan Muslim League and Pakistan People's Party, the Jamaat Ulema-e-Islam F, Pakistan Democratic Movement and others met to decide on the course of action. The Pakistan opposition has now called for a fresh set of protests on Friday and declared it to be the day of protection of the constitution, saying that Pakistan's existence would be in danger if the constitution is violated. The joint opposition also called to hold rallies and protest, demanding that the unconstitutional measure should be taken back. The opposition has alleged that the crisis emerged due to the unconstitutional ruling of the Deputy Speaker, adding the crisis has put Pakistan's sovereignty at stake. Earlier this week, the opposition moved the Pakistan Supreme Court against the Speaker's move to dismiss the no-confidence motion as being unconstitutional. The PDM chief, Maulana Fazlur Rahman, has now demanded guarantees from the judiciary and the establishment to protect the constitution, demanding that the top court must declare the Speaker's decision as being null and void. The opposition also targeted the PTI over the call for the elections to be held in 90 days, with Fazlur Rahman pointing out that free, fair and transparent elections could not be held under this so-called government, and demanded that a new Prime Minister should be elected to give a new election schedule. Remember, the President's office had written to the Election Commission of Pakistan to propose dates for holding the fresh general elections within 90 days of the dissolution of the National Assembly. And joining us on the broadcast is Reham Khan from Islamabad. Reham, thanks very much for being here with us. Now, this looks like it could be the last over as far as the legal battle, at least, is concerned. We are awaiting a verdict anytime now. But even if this legal crisis is resolved, the political uncertainty on the ground could continue. What is your assessment of what lies ahead for Imran Khan?
Thank you, Molly. I think that obviously the nation is waiting with bated breath, because this is a historical moment for Pakistan. And I think the fact that the judiciary's own prestige and integrity rests on the basis of the judgment that comes out. This is not about Imran, and this is not about a political party or an outgoing prime minister. This is about the fact that the Constitution is and the Parliament is supreme or not. Today, whatever the judgment comes out will decide whether the Constitution has won, the will of the people has won, their representatives in Parliament, which is effectively the people represented in Parliament. The parliamentarians are the voice of the people. Has democracy won? Has the voice of the people won or not? I think nothing that would sort of be a middle ground would suit today. I think that the integrity of the Supreme Court rests on the judgment today. It is a clear, blatant violation of the Constitution. It's disobedience of the Constitution, and breaking one rule, violating one principle, one article of the Constitution amounts to treason. And here I think it's a very clear-cut case of high treason. They've already made some comments during the course of the day today, suggesting very clearly that they understand, and of course, why wouldn't they? The honorable judges obviously know the law and can read the Constitution better than you and I, and the average person on the street. They have made it very clear that there has been a violation by the acting speaker or the deputy speaker. And if that is a violation of the Constitution, then clearly anything that follows from there on is the violation of the Constitution. So it cannot be possible that we say that Qasim Suri has violated the Constitution, but Imran has not. We can't say that Qasim Suri, the Deputy Speaker, has violated the Constitution and the President has not. So it's a very clear-cut case. we have seen 74 years of a very checkered history of our judicial system. And I think that in the past few years, if you think about the judgment that came out for Nawaz Sharif, the way we went into the polls in 2018, the judiciary can't afford to have anything, cannot afford to have a tainted reputation. I think that the political parties are standing by. They have behaved with utmost restraint, with a very composed, mature and educated response to whatever's happened. They've not behaved like the Ladla. In fact, Bilawal Bhutto today in the Supreme Court impressed us all by his composure. I'm not sure whether he was prepared to take to the stand, but when he did, he spoke like a litigant would. He spoke with legal knowledge and spoke with a very cool, calm, measured attitude. And I think that is to be appreciated. So if the Supreme Court goes for the middle ground, which would mean that they say, well, the Speaker was not correct in giving that ruling, but in the greater interest of the people or the national interest, we suggest that we proceed with fresh elections, early elections. I think that is not going to satisfy any political leader, any political activist, any Democrat, not only in Pakistan, but across the world. Imran's reputation across the world has been damaged by his own actions. The judiciary cannot afford to damage their reputation. So everything, rests on the outcome of the judgment. It isn't good enough just to say, let's go to early elections. That wouldn't suffice.
And the Election Commission already has said, talked about the possibility of the elections being held not before October. So that's another aspect that is leading to further uncertainty. And it has said that they will be speaking to the president and arranging a meeting on that front. Now, talking about this survey and regarding the mood on the ground, 64% of the people surveyed, according to Gallup Pakistan, saying that Imran Khan is being ousted because of inflation. Only 36% had blamed a foreign conspiracy. If you can just give us a sense of what the reaction of the Pakistanis has been to this entire episode, this prolonged period of uncertainty and the foreign conspiracy angle.
So you see, it depends who you speak to. The cult following of Imran has always been very young, people who are not really employed, people who are not really part of the business community, whereas the PMLN vote bank has traditionally been the business community and people who deal with import duties and manufacturing and construction and property developing. And I get a very clear sense that just the fact that whatever happened on the 3rd of April has caused further uncertainty in the minds of investors, financiers, property developers, people who are the backbone of the country, people who can give employment, people who can rebuild the country. And this was well before the rupee free fall today. The rupee has been crashing for ages. And a very long time ago, if you look at my Twitter handle, I had predicted that Imran has been assigned the task to bring the rupee against the dollar to 200 PKR. That is the target. And what has happened since the 3rd of April is very predictable. Whenever there's uncertainty, the market gets affected. So whether it's the stock exchange or the rupee, I mean, it's close to 190 rupees to a dollar today. And it is very, very a very, very dangerous situation for us. The interest rate has shot up to 12.25%. This is just a mockery of the claims that Imran has been making about Riyasat-e-Madina. If there is a Riyasat-e-Madina, people would have been looked after. If there was a Riyasat-e-Madina concept implemented, we wouldn't have such high interest rates. So I think that the sense is that people are very nervous. They want a very clear judgment out, and they want it very soon. The fact that the courts have been dragging their feet, and we've had we are close to the weekend now, doesn't suit the economy. So it's so hypocritical that Fawad Chaudhry took to the screens today. Not that I expect anything better of him, but the fact that he's talking about economic instability. Well, who is responsible for economic instability? Economic instability has been their only achievement in the last 4 years. So even this constitutional crisis that Imran has plunged the country into for his own selfish motives, we were looking at a very, very risky future. And I find it very disturbing that the conversation today in the courts should not have been around this. What's happening to the rupee? What's happening to the interest rates? What's happening to the economy wasn't the matter that was under discussion for the honourable judges, with due respect. I think that is to be left to the parliamentarians. And this is the whole problem. The flaw in this whole drama is the fact that the parliamentarians who are empowered to make those decisions have not been making those decisions for the last 4 years, apart from the fact that Imran has had a very weak coalition government, has had several finance ministers dismissed, and has had no seriousness in addressing the economic problems that Pakistan has faced, but also the fact that we've not had a popular government, people who are experienced, people who know their numbers. I mean, the people in PTI, including Imran and his spokespersons, they wouldn't, if you ask them to sign a check, they wouldn't know how many zeros to put on a million. And that isn't me exaggerating. That's something that we see on a daily basis in their talk shows and in their speeches. And that is the real nervousness. Had there been a popularly elected, strong government in power, had there been people like Isaac Dar who deal with numbers on a daily basis, this would not have happened. But to argue today in the Supreme Court about that is nerve-wracking to somebody like me, because that is not the question under discussion.
Right.
That is not for our honourable judges to discuss. That is for the parliamentarians to discuss. That is for the finance minister to discuss. And that is something that only can be discussed once we are out of this self-created chaos.
What do you make of the messaging coming in from Imran Khan's addresses? He's already been in campaign mode. And the real challenge for him is to garner support, not from the people at this point, but as far as his lost allies and dissidents are concerned. Because if the battle does go back to the National Assembly, the numbers do not stack up in his favor.
Well, you see, in the last few days, we've seen that while they had 177 numbers against him, and that's a lot more than what Imran had when he came into power, and he came in with, lots of sort of things very hurriedly put together. It was a Northern Pulao, and he had 174, if my memory serves me right. For the no confidence vote, that was supposed to go ahead on Sunday, the opposition parties had 177, and I'm sure that they would actually, these were the ones that were locked, but I'm sure that the number in practice would have been much higher. Imran doesn't enjoy the support of his own party. We've discussed this before, of course, the dissidents. But in the past couple of days, what we've seen in the Punjab Assembly also is a couple more of groups, forward blocks. We've had the Mazari group suggest that, they want to distance themselves from Imran. And so, yes, he doesn't enjoy the support of the people. He doesn't enjoy the support of the military anymore. He doesn't enjoy the support of his own coalition partners. And nothing has actually swayed them back to him, which is encouraging for Democrats, but of course not very encouraging for Imran. The only thing that he has is what he's always had. He has this bullying, the bullying tactics, the conspiracy ideas. This is not the first time he's gone down this route. The only thing is that he doesn't have that kind of support. If you come to Islamabad and look at the protesters that PTI is bringing forward, it's a measly handful, as opposed to the Punjab Assembly. As you know, yesterday the Punjab Assembly assembled themselves in a local hotel just to show that is what their power is. Had the Punjab Assembly not been sealed off. So, the thuggery and the bullying tactics of Imran are just very, very childish, selfish. And I hope that the Supreme Court realizes that. You see, if this violation of the Constitution goes unpunished, if an example is not set today, I think this is just going to be extremely depressing for Pakistan as a nation and a country.
Right.
Alternatively, we could have a very positive year for the Democrats. So it's not about the elections. This is not something that the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court should not be talking economy. The Supreme Court should not be talking about whether the elections are in the best interest of the country and the people. This is for the parliamentarians to decide, because the parliament is supreme.
Right.
We need to understand the pecking order.
WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.